How can digital story apps with interactive features effectively communicate narrative to emergent readers? In this project, I'll be asking how effective story apps can be in portraying a narrative and how well they convey meaning to the reader. How can digital books avoid being a modern means of distraction? This is relevant to the field of modern children's literature as there is an increasing proliferation of story apps available of varying quality. It's commonly accepted now that digital books can have the capacity to enhance a child's emerging literary skills, and story apps now have a stable place in the competitive children's publishing market. However, I believe digital books need to meet a criteria for quality before they can be considered generally successful and be able to enhance the narrative and communicate meaningfully to emerging readers. My aim is to discuss digital apps and their place within children's literature, highlight their varying quality in the market, and also how interactive features may have an impact on the reader's understanding of the story. I'll also discuss interactive features, what they are and what criteria they may need to have to be considered suitable for developing readers. In addition, I would like to discuss how children make meaning from digital books, how they interpret intertextual stories, and how using a digital app may not be so different from certain types of traditional book formats such as pop-up books and postmodern narratives. I'll draw from various research sources such as early educational and psychology research studies and narrative and literary theories in my discussion. Through research and discussion of these topics, I intend to broach the subject of how meaning is understood by the reader and therefore what conditions digital books should meet which allow emergent readers to best understand the narrative. Initially, I'll give clarification of what constitutes a digital book app, which is essentially in line the initial framework of the essay. I'll define this by referencing various research projects which outline and give comprehensive analysis of digital books and explain the difference between enhanced ebooks and digital apps. A 2007 study by McKnight, Grimshaw and Zungworth defines and analyses digital book apps' features, giving a clear explanation of what constitutes a digital app. I'll also include interviews with professionals in the publishing world which confirm digital story apps' increasing popularity. An interview with HarperCollins confirms the book app's place in the market and what features a successful book app may have. There are many research articles which consider features of book apps and the effect these may have on the reader. I'll be specifically looking at studies which comparatively discuss successful and unsuccessful features and what constitutes a successful feature. A seminal research study from 2002 by De Jong and Bus will be referenced to confirm how digital books can aid emergent readers in their development and what effect interactive features can have in aiding or distracting from the reader's impression of the story. I've been researching how children comprehend and make sense of stories in digital books, and the main points I'll be discussing are related to studies which aim to make sense of how a child uses intertextual modes and derives meaning from them. I would argue that literary theories of how a text communicates a narrative work across intertextual modes, but need some definition to be applicable to story apps, so my discussion will be related to literary and narrative theories, which help to illustrate and clarify how children make meaning from text and storybooks. This provides insight into understanding how a child makes meaning from different modes, which in turn helps us to understand how digital app features can enhance rather than detract from a story in this format. This next section is related to how children use digital book apps, so I'll be including research studies which have specifically researched user patterns and behaviours, and theories of how this mode may affect user behaviours. User behaviours include how a child interacts with features and how the format may affect co-reading between child and parent. I'll discuss theories which confirm the changing skills that children have developed as technology becomes more prevalent in most areas of our lives. Mackey's study, Narrative Pleasures in Young Adult Novels, Films and Video Games, is of interest here as she discusses transferable skills adapted by users of various different media and how meaning is derived by the reader of these different media. This changing skill set allows children to alter their habits easily to accommodate modes such as digital books, and this may not be so different to how they understand interactive traditional pop-up books or postmodern storybooks as they actively read both these formats. I would agree with the argument that narrative and educational development theories of how these more traditional forms could be altered to include digital story apps, and this may affect how developers and research consider digital apps, and in turn this may affect their quality. Theories such as the radical change theory are relevant here, so I aim to discuss and link this to how we understand stories in new digital modes, and how this can be used to make engaging and polysemic story apps. Dressang's radical change theory is useful in acknowledging how children's literature is changing, and this theory helps us to understand children's abilities and behaviours in changing times. It discusses how children can adapt to multimodal and intertextual forms of media, and is also relevant in helping to classify and categorise changing features of digital books and how they are used. In terms of a wider cultural understanding, this theory is particularly useful and helps us to understand user behaviours on a wider scale. I would like to bring these research ideas together by summarising that successful features of a digital book app can enhance the reading experience for the child, and that children may have transferable skills which allow them to adapt to different modes, and that digital apps may be similar to actively reading some traditional formats. Therefore, in a changing digital landscape of intertextual stories, children are very flexible, which allows them to take advantage of interactive forms of media, which can positively enhance a narrative and the child's understanding from text and image. Theories such as the radical change theory should be considered in conjunction with understanding user behaviours when analysing digital versions of stories, as this can allow for better understanding of changing technology and how to best make use of it. In turn, this understanding can influence the development for better quality digital story apps when considering meaning derived from the story features and text in combination with user behaviours. This research will allow me to investigate what makes for a successful portrayal of narrative using modern technology when combined with storytelling. When producing illustrations for stories using modern technology, it's important to communicate a narrative well and create a positive experience for the reader. It's also important not to distract with unnecessary or superfluous features which detract from the story. This will be of use in my own research into the development of animated GIFs and my development of narrative, resulting in more refined and developed work. I'm generally interested in how narrative can be reformed and developed in new and innovative ways. This research provides good groundwork for me and insight into such areas as how readers derive meaning from narratives, how to take advantage of digital technology, and creating stories in versatile forms. In particular, it will help me to produce work in digital formats, which can be successful in communicating visual ideas which enhance a story rather than being a distraction.